What is up, everybody? This is iBreakCards, and welcome to episode 2 of In My Opinion. Today we are going to be talking about several different things, but I do want to quickly remind you guys about last week's episode if you were not there. My good friend Chance and I starred in last week's episode in which we talked about Robert Kraft, the NFL free agency, Bryce Harper, and more. He also released his special announcement in which he was going to give me permission to vlog his entire bachelor party as we go to a St. Louis Cardinals game against the Padres and do a whole lot more. There will be 4 of us going on that trip, and we're just really looking forward to it. So I look forward to showing you guys a good time that we have, and if you've never been to Busch, hopefully I can show you guys what Busch Stadium is all about. So much history in that place, and let's begin with this week's answer to last week's trivia question. Last week I asked you guys, how many of the first round picks from the 2013 NFL Draft still play in the NFL today? Several of you guessed, and no one guessed it correctly on their first try. We did have somebody, it was actually biggest Packers fan, guessed multiple times, but I'm saying no one guessed it right on their first try, and the answer, if I did my research correctly, is 26. So this week's new trivia question is, what running back moved into the 4th place all-time last season in running yards? I know this answer. I remember watching the game, so I wish you guys luck in guessing this answer correctly. So we're going to go ahead and move into our first topic here, and it is Witten Un-retiring. I'm not sure exactly how I feel about this. As many of us know, Dak didn't do that well last season, and they're actually not weak in the tight end area with some of the new picks that they've gotten, both in the draft and in the offseason. I'm more specifically talking about the draft than in the offseason here. However, Witten means a veteran force coming back to the team, and he can hopefully coach up those rookies or those new players or those new starters, and maybe something happens. We'll never know. Maybe Witten's presence on the field is less, and Witten's presence behind, closed doors and on the sidelines is much more. I expect him to get his starting role back, of course, and even Garrett said that he was trying to get him back last season. But if you're a player, I think you prefer to be on the field more and less in the booth. And if this were the case, honestly, I don't like Tony Romo at all as a guy to have in the booth commentating games. I honestly find his play calling, this is why this happened, and if they drop a guy here, well, this is going to happen, or his predictions, I don't really care for it. So in that case, we need to get Romo out of the booth too. So basically, I don't think he's going to do a lot for the Cowboys. I don't think he's going to put up record numbers or honestly help the overall scheme of the Dallas Cowboys a lot. I don't mean to diss any Cowboys fans or their fan base or their team. This team has the same chance at the beginning of every season as anybody else. So good luck to Witten. Hopefully nothing bad happens to him. He doesn't get injured or anything like that. But we're going to move on to the Antonio Brown. Now, last week I said to you guys, I wouldn't be surprised if a roughly 500 team or less picked up Antonio Brown or Bell. I might have mentioned one or the other. I remember saying Bell would go anywhere where the money was, and so it could have been in reference to him, but I'm going to divide it out. And currently, Antonio Brown is drawing the most interest from the Raiders, Redskins, and Titans. I'm going to be real with you guys. Antonio Brown is a great player, and he's a scary-looking dude when he's wearing that black and gold. So to go and picture him wearing light blue and white on the Titans or white on the Redskins just doesn't feel right. He would look good in some Raider black, though. However, I don't want him in the same league or, the same little subsection with the Chiefs. That is the Chiefs, Chargers, Broncos, and Raiders. I had a brain fart there for a moment. Honestly, he can go anywhere else but the Raiders, Broncos, or Chargers. So, Raiders, I think, honestly, if he goes to the Raiders, he could have a good season and possibly put their quarterback back on track with Derek Carr. So, as I was mentioning earlier, I said I wouldn't be surprised if a roughly 500 or a 50-50, 8-8 kind of team picked up Brown or Bell. The Raiders are 4-12, less than 500. Redskins 7-9. Less than 500. And the Titans went 9-7 last season, so I would say I was kind of close. Now, there's another thing going on right now, and for those of you on Twitter that I follow, I thank you for this, because you guys were the ones that made me want to talk about this. I saw one of you posted something along the lines of the equivalent to Josh Rosen deleting all his Cardinals pictures on Instagram is the equivalent to like a teenager throwing a fit about a boy or something like that. Now, this raises the question, the Cardinals were terrible last season. Don't get me wrong, I love that Fitz stayed, and it's, not a certain offense or defense's fault. Yes, you can blame the quarterback, but, maybe defense could have performed better too. They basically have said overall that the Cardinals are going to pick Murray. And for those of you that don't know, Murray is 5'10", which is only 4 inches taller than me at 5'6". On a good day, I'm 5'7", maybe with my hair standing up. But I don't see Rosen staying with the Arizona Cardinals after this season. I don't know what kind of a deal he signed, whether it was a one-year deal or something. Maybe that would have been a good idea to look up before shooting this video. But I'm wondering if he's out, if he's going to play backup, or if he's going to go somewhere else and maybe start, or more realistically backup. Their team went, I want to say 4-12, if I'm not wrong, last season, maybe even worse. And so I'm thinking that after he deleted all those pictures off his social media of everything having to do with the Arizona Cardinals, he went on a rampage, he went on a fit, and that just doesn't make him look good. He's the 10th overall pick from last year, and he could be traded or moved to a backup role, which I do see. I also don't see a lot of teams being interested in putting Josh Rosen in a starting position. I don't even see him as a starter myself after his first year. There were a lot of good quarterbacks chosen last year, as many of us know, and a lot of good running backs and wide receivers that really just showed their true colors. And yeah, they had it rough. Many of them did because they were on not so decent teams with, Barkley and even Rosen and so on and so forth. Our Jets quarterback, of course. But at the end of the day, you've got to prove yourself if you want to stay in that starter role. And you don't get second or third chances a lot in the NFL. As I said in my trivia question from last week, 26 players still play in the NFL. Several of those players went 2 years starting, and then were basically done with that role after 2 years. So Rosen could be done after one. We just don't know at this time. The next topic I want to talk to you about is some rule changes and some things that the NFL wants to work on. And these always really interest me, but also raise a lot of questions. So the first one I saw was that the NFL was thinking of adding a sky judge due to missed calls in the championship game. Here's the thing. The championship game. There's always going to be missed calls, but there should not be a lot of missed calls in a championship game or playoff games or things like that. You're looking at the best of the best field officials and referees the NFL has to offer, and you shouldn't be making, a lot of missed calls. You shouldn't be making these mistakes. So the NFL is thinking of adding a sky judge due to missed calls in the championship game, and that just surprises me. It raises this one question in my mind. How is a single sky judge going to watch all routes and all players to know that there's a pass interference or a holding call or things like that? In all honesty, I think there should be at least 2 or 3, one watching the offense, maybe one watching the defense, and one watching overall or something like that. That, in my opinion, would give a better coverage. Even though it could come back to bite my team in the butt several times, it would give us a much better look, a much better feel. Now, I'm sure a lot of fans from before replays and challenges and, things like that don't want this. I honestly see those sky cams in games. I see them crash on the field. One of the first times I went to a Chiefs game, I thought that sky cams going across the field and on the wires and everything didn't look great. But they also give us a lot of the views we see on television. So either way, something's going to change here quite possibly. And I think doing more than one single sky judge is going to help with those important decisions. Another new change that I would believe many people want, because our teams have all lost due to this rule several times over, is the OT rules. Now, the Chiefs actually want these rules changed more than anybody. They're the ones saying, hey, we kind of got screwed against the Patriots last season. Yes, I'm a Chiefs fan, but I'm trying to look at this bias And basically, I know that every team has been beaten due to a team getting the ball first on a 50-50 coin, flip, which is 50-50, it's fair, and taking that ball down the field and scoring. You look at the Chiefs and the Patriots, both have very high-scoring offenses, not the best defenses. Yes, they shined sometimes and when they needed to, but, you had the Chiefs and the Patriots score over 50 points in a game this past year, and the Chiefs lost. So they want to change the overtime rules to where basically both teams get the ball. Here's what I'm going to suggest. Both teams get the ball. Yes, I agree with that 100%. So that's my first point. My second point is, if the first team scores 3 points, the other team also has to score 3 points to keep the game going. If they can't score any points, they lose, and if they score 7, they win. So basically, it's the same rule they have right now. You've got to tie it up to keep the game going. If you can't score at all, or you turn it over, you lose, and if you score 7, you win, because you're beating that other team on their possession. Now I'm going to say if the first team scores 7, a touchdown and a field goal, then their opponent also has to score a touchdown and a field goal to keep that game going. And my last point on that is, if the team to get the ball first can't score, the other team only needs to score 3 or 7 points to win. It's that simple. And if they keep tying it up and they keep going back and forth, it becomes clock management time, where you just run the clock or you drain the clock. And if the game is tied and the time runs out, it is a tie, just like in a regular NFL OT rule. Switching from football to baseball now, Harper signed to the Phillies for 13 years, $330 million. A lump sum and a long contract we have not seen in ages, except for the most recent signing to the San Diego Padres, who was a 10-year deal. I think they can actually make the playoffs this year. I was looking at who they had on their team, talking to some friends, talking to other people on Twitter, and with Reese Hoskins, something like that. I need to fresh up on my baseball terminology. I think they can make the playoffs, but they may need some more help to win it all. I'm really curious to see how they do, how Harper does in a new, stadium and whatnot, and how he gets along with his teammates. From what I've seen, he's doing fine. He's even trying to recruit Le'Veon Bell to play for the Eagles. He's talked with Allen Iverson because they have the same jersey number, but he's also changed his jersey number to give respect to an ex-Phillies player, and I can't remember exactly who it is. So props to Bryce. He seems to be doing everything in his power and doing a lot of things right. So I'm happy for him. Hopefully his time in Philadelphia will be all those 13 years. If it's not, I can see the contract getting cut short and he'll go somewhere else. Switching now from baseball to soccer. I know a lot of you aren't actually, impressed with soccer. It can be a slow game, but in my opinion, so can baseball. Baseball and soccer can both be slow, but when something happens, a goal is scored, a home run is hit, it makes it exciting. You spend all that time sitting there and waiting, and then something happens and it makes it amazing. So one of the last things I'm going to talk to you guys about is Zlatan Ibrahimovic, who is a player who used to play overseas and now plays for my favorite team, the LA Galaxy. He wants everybody to basically know that he believes in himself and that he can beat the single-season goal record, which is 31. Now, there's roughly 30 games, a little more than 30, in a MLS or a soccer season. And last season, he came in late. He scored 20 goals in 24 games. So he's roughly a 1-to-1 ratio, a little less than 1 goal a game if you really look at it in the forms of math and doing the numbers in the division and whatnot. So I believe that he can get close, and he might even beat it. We did have a game last night against the Chicago Fire in which we went down 1-0, tied it up 1-1, and Zlatan hit a header off of the goalie, who basically hit a ball away, and it just couldn't be kept out of the goal. So we won 2-1, and he's already got 1 goal in 1 game. Before I end, I do want to talk about one last thing, and that is a response I had to last week's video. My good friend Tim, who I've talked to many times, good Chiefs fan, good person, likes to break cards with his son, and also is from where I am, said on a topic that we talked about last week, we were talking about Robert Kraft, and we were talking about who knows what the NFL can make him do. Are they going to fine him? Are they going to, say you can't come this season at all? Are they going to say you can't spend this much money in the offseason, or, you lose draft picks or what. Tim actually said that the NFL can make him sell his team just like they did with the Panthers owner for sexual harassment and the basketball owner who was accused of being racist, and they were both forced to sell their teams. Now, Tim, I do remember the basketball owner who was accused of being racist. I do remember him getting rid of everybody who wasn't, I believe, white. And that's just a terrible and awful thing I can't even fathom. You look at the talent in any sport, and it is all colors of the rainbow. You've got players from every walk of life and from every country, and people who are talented, whether their dad played or their mom played or they're the first in their family. Everybody has that shot to work hard and make it. So I agree with you, and I even went and looked up some of the things you said. You said that there was a owner, the Panthers owner, who had to sell their team due to sexual harassment, and I looked that up. It is confirmed. The Panthers, for some reason I wrote Panthers coach. It's the Panthers owner, sold the team after sexual misconduct and using a racial slur at an African-American scout on his own team. Unbelievable. I can't believe that these things came to light. That was actually printed in Sports Illustrated, and that's what got the ball rolling, which really surprised me that had to be printed in order for something to happen. We're also going to look at another comment who, it was Alex Smith, which is ironically one of my favorite football players. Next topic, Dolphins quarterback question. Who's promising in this year's draft? Kyle Murray. Another question he has is Kyle Murray, NFL instead of MLB, right or wrong decision? My opinion, I don't watch a lot of college football, barely any, to be honest. I'm going to say if he wants the fans and to win that Super Bowl, obviously he wants to go football. If you want money, you can go baseball, and I think he made the right decision. Biggest Packers fan, he said that he thought the Packers would sign Brown. I'm thinking he said that because he's a Packers fan. And last comment I'm going to look at here is C Advocate, who's a Bucks fan. He said he's going to guess 18 players, which we all know the answer was 26. And he also said, congrats to Chance. And he said, I'm jealous. I want to go to a Cards game. Haven't been since I was about 5. And let's say no current players played then. So it's been a while since he's gone. And dude, it's been honestly a long time since I've gone. I went on Fan Appreciation Day, which is normally the last game of the season. And that was, with Chance as well, 5 or so years ago. So guys, I do appreciate you all for watching. Like, subscribe. I want you guys to comment down below your guesses on the trivia from this time. Remember, it is what player, aka a running back, moved into 4th place all-time in rushing yards this last season. A hint for you guys is he has not played with the same team his entire life, if I remember the answer correctly. So guys, thank you again for watching. Like, subscribe, all that stuff. Comment down below if there's any topics that happen throughout the week. I normally record on Sunday or Monday that you guys would want me to include in the next episode. Thank you guys so much for watching. Like, subscribe, all that stuff. And I will talk to you all later.